Gulf Travel Show brought an insightful session on space tourism. Here are some key points.
There's been a lot of buzz around, the first sort of suborbital flights that Jeff Bezos and, Richard Branson from Virgin Galactica did recently in July. I think that was essentially a very landmark event. I think ever since, the late 60s. And that has opened up a lot of speculation around space tourism as it would exist pertaining to the larger audiences, right? So we're now looking at the possibility where space travel is no more restricted just to sort of astronauts and, sort of qualified individuals, but we're looking at people who are your everyday people. Obviously, at this stage, it is a little more restricted to the fairly elite because of the cost associated with space tourism. Blue Origin and Virgin Galactica actually offer suborbital flights. So these are actually where you just go to the edge of space. You're high enough to be considered in space, whereas SpaceX is positioned more towards a sort of ultra aspirational, multi-day sort of trip where you're going in orbit and you're spending multiple days in space. All these companies have actually positioned themselves to be offering these within the next 2 years. So Blue Origin and Virgin Galactica are aiming by 2022, they will have up to about 400 flights per year. And SpaceX is, as lofty as the ambition may sound, it is by 2024. It is a relatively high sort of phenomenon, with about 61%, the majority saying that they were aware of what space tourism was. However, we feel because it's a fairly new phenomenon and it's a novelty sort of experience, there was only about 20% that actually said that they're very familiar. The large majority actually reported saying that they're only somewhat familiar with what space tourism is, despite the lack of information. If costs were not a barrier, obviously, because that's something that would be restricting it only to a specific socioeconomic classification. We do find well over half of UAE residents would be very keen to actually book a suborbital space flight. There's a lot of elements that are actually working that indicate that UAE is on the forefront as well. So, for instance, it was about a year and a half ago that UAE was the first country in the Middle East to actually pass a space law that allowed private sector participation. There is a just over 7% investment by Mubadala in Virgin Galactic, so there is a partnership element going there. And then we have the likes of other smaller companies like a Spanish startup, EOS SpaceX, that has sort of plans to launch operations from the Emirate of Dubai.
Kuwait Airways to operate on the Baku route from the 18th of November. 27th edition of Dubai Shopping Festival to be held from the 15th of December to the 29th of January. TUI cruises to dock at Sir Bani Yas Island this winter.